This beautiful 1930s wedding dress was worn by the donor's great aunt Catherine. And this is a prime example of how something can look on a hanger can be a completely different look once it's on a form or a body. Here is Catherine for her wedding on June 1st, 1935 in Guilford Springs, Pennsylvania. I was told that her mother made the dress, so I looked up patterns from 1935 or from the 30s for wedding dresses. And I was able to find an image of the pattern that was used for this dress. And that is so fun to see that. I personally think they should reissue this pattern because I think it is amazing. It's McCall's number 8331. I also found another image of somebody else that had made that version of the dress, but with the train for a wedding also in the 1930s. And look at those bridesmaids. The donation also came with the veil and headpiece and the silk stockings that Catherine had worn. And that is her handwriting with that note. The dress has a back waist sash and some unique seaming, and it just had a few stains on it and just needing a general cleaning. I wanted to determine if it was in fact silk, and it did react as it was silk. So I'm using Dirty Labs for this and using 3/4 of a capful of it. And for silk, you're going to want to use cool water because hot water can damage the silk. So I did this at a temperature of 82 Fahrenheit. And I used my mesh rack at the bottom to help be as gentle as possible on this for the washing process. So in she goes. I personally love the shade of this dress. I don't want it to be white. I know some people think that all wedding dresses are supposed to be white, and maybe this one was originally, but I absolutely love the kind of champagne color that this dress had, or candlelight. So I just gently move it around in the water, and I don't want to soak too long. So, and again, there's not a lot of staining or anything on this, so I'm just wanting to give it a general cleaning. With silk, you don't want to soak too long because it weakens the fibers. So I used my mesh rack to kind of do an up and down cleaning motion. And there's some yellow water, which is always a good sign. So I let it drip on that mesh rack for a while, drained the water, and then did a rinse with the same kind of technique with that mesh rack. For vinegar, that is helpful to revive silk's luster and kind of help pull out any of the remaining detergent or soap. So I did another rinse with this in about a half a cup of vinegar in the water. And then I had to do more rinsing after that. So with doing vintage, there's a lot of rinsing that happens, but it's important to get the different detergents and different things out of it. So again, I put it on that mesh rack to let it drip, and then I'm going to save that rinse water for another initial soak on another dress. So then I did my towel roll to get the excess moisture out, and then let it air dry. And I also did the sash too. So I had it hanging in my bathroom for the remainder. I did some pressing on the wrong side of it, and it pressed up beautifully. And then I worked on the little shaped cuffs on those sleeves, which I think is so amazing, and wait till you see those at the end. And then the veil, the netting itself was in very poor shape, but this little bit of the headpiece here was fine, and those darling little velvet flowers are in really good condition, but that's how the veil looks. Now let's give those stockings a bath. They're really, really worn. They've been mended many times, which I think is so charming because that's what people did. You paid a lot of money for clothing back then, and so you repaired them. You didn't just throw something away when it was damaged or dirty. You just kept doing what you could to extend the life on it. And I just think that's so neat that Catherine kept these stockings and kept a little hand note with them. So again, I used Dirty Labs for this, and then just did a little hand wash, and then let those air dry as well. So here's what those stockings look like. You can see all of her little stitches. I guess Catherine was a sewer as well, in addition to her mother. And there's a Cuban heel on this, and there's a back seam on the stocking, which was common for the time. And I just think that's so neat to see all the repairs in those. I just want to give a bit of time to show the appreciation for the beauty of the stitching that Catherine's mother did on this. The entire dress has all the seams overcast by hand. The sash on all the hems around it is tiny little hand stitching. Of course, the hem is hand stitching. So remember how it looked on the hanger? And look at it now. Oh my goodness. I've had many wedding dresses over the years, as you know, and from all different eras. And I love so much about different eras for different reasons. But this one here really has my heart. I think this is absolute utter elegance and just classic simplicity. Just such simple detailing, but the fabric just flows so beautifully with those sleeves and that unique seaming. And there's some interest in the back. And there's this little overflap for the bottom front there in the skirt, which I've never seen before. And look at the point on that wrist. Oh my goodness. Like I said, I think they should reissue this pattern, even though it probably be a challenge to make it. It is incredible and still beautiful 90 years later.